welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for the last 30 years as the Money Lady. And of course, you know what my commitment is to you as my viewers, to bring you information, what can I say, amazing people in the area of, in the field of money and finance and resources. And today is no exception, because I have an absolutely fantastic gentleman who will be my guest for the next hour to talk about personal injury. Ouch. Yeah, lots of people have that experience. But again, my commitment is to bring you the best. And I have a gentleman, Tony Castelli, who is an attorney at law, 30 plus years in the industry, very widely known, widely respected, and he's going to take all of the mystery out of this very specialized area of law. You're going to learn over the next hour how to select a good personal injury attorney, what are some of the problems with insurance companies and how they really are wolves in sheep clothing, and what you need to do if bad things happen to you. And for the record, just for those of you that are tuning in, a bad thing could have happened to me this morning because I was driving to the television station from Cincinnati, as is my custom, and it came into truck cut in front of me, came to a screeching halt, coffee spilled all over my ivory silk dress, right. So that's what you're looking at right now today, the remnants of almost getting hit by a truck. So it could be it could have happened to me, and I'd be calling Tony to represent me. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the meat of today's show. And again, I thank you for being a part of my world, and I know you're going to appreciate the information you get today. Sir.
Michelle, thank you. It's so nice to meet you in person.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you on as my guest. Where do we want to begin? Give me a little bit of information about you and what your background is.
Okay. Well, I was an old social worker once upon a time, and I looked around, and when I was 25, and I was running the streets, taking care of abused and neglected children, and I said, you know, down the road, I don't think I want to be out here running the streets like this. And I decided to go to law school. I went to school in the evening, worked during the day. Wow. By dumb luck, found a law school job with a guy by the name of Walter Bell. You will only find one article on the internet because he was pre-internet. That's how far he goes back. He was a lawyer's lawyer, well-respected personal injury lawyer. I carried his bag around for 4 years. So how stressful this business is. At 55, I'm 1 year out of law school. He dies and he has a heart attack. But by that time, he had trained me well. I had been to multiple jury trials with him, and that's how I really learned my craft, watching him. I was partners in a law firm for many years, that same firm, and the firm broke up, and then I have been out on my own in the suburbs of Cincinnati. I actually have a meeting place in Dayton and Columbus where I meet clients.
Okay.
I've had over 25 civil jury trials, and unlike Jerry Spence, I haven't won every one, okay? And that kind of happens, but it's okay. You know, you go in there and sometimes you take a shot. I've learned what are those cases that can be lost like that over the years. I've learned how to value cases. I've learned how to give service to clients, and I really enjoy it. You know, most of the time.
Most of the time. Well, I think that's with any kind of a profession. When you're at the top of your game, you have great days, good days, bad days, and terrible days. Sometimes yeah. It's all a part of the business, and certainly with personal injury. And that is so common. I'm so serious. I'm still kind of unnerved about my experience this morning. Because that could have had very, very bad consequences for me.
My goodness.
I mean, a truck is not a joke.
No.
It isn't.
And from Dayton to Cincinnati to Columbus, you got 71, you got 75,
yes.
You got construction going on, and there's a lot of serious car accidents out there.
So you've given me your background coming out of a caring environment, a social services environment where you were dealing with hurting people in their personal lives, and then you crossed over into people that were hurting people because of physical problems. What have you learned over these years about this whole field of personal injury?
One of the things that I've learned is that clients don't really know the process, and you have to take time to explain to them when you first meet them what is going to happen and try to lower their expectations in many cases.
Okay.
What I say is the two biggest mistakes that personal injury victims make is A, they either want too much money or they don't want enough. And the ones that don't want enough often are unrepresented, and the insurance companies are out there to pay them as little as possible, even your own, because that's how they, as you know, how do they profit? They take in premiums and pay out as little as possible.
Right.
So, you know, the big thing that I learned from Walter Bell is that you have to, as a personal injury attorney, if you want to call yourself that and you want to be one, you have to be willing to go to trial. There's too many lawyers out there that think they're a personal injury attorney that can just, well, I can get the police report, I can get some medical bills, send it to the insurance company, write a letter, sell this up for... No, it doesn't work like that anymore, and it never did. Insurance companies, if you really want to get a fair offer, you better build that case with all the evidence that you can gather, and then if they give you a lowball offer, which I would say happens to me 25 to 30% of the time, then you must file a lawsuit and prosecute that claim to the best of your ability and show them that you're ready to go and go to trial.
Be in front of a jury?
Yeah,
a jury trial?
That's where we go.
My God.
It's rare, okay? Of the hundreds of thousands of cases that I've handled, I've probably had over 25 jury trials from, as we discussed, I don't know if I said this earlier, from I've been blanked, and I just saw an interview with Dave Chappelle. And my very first case, I got $3,500, and I was asking for a lot more. And it was a sprained case of the neck. And what Dave Chappelle said was he got booed off the stage when he was at the Apollo. He'd never been booed before, and he said, you know what? It's not so bad. I can handle that.
Okay.
And so when I felt that was a loss, my first case, but it wasn't so bad. And I got back up, and I was in that same judge's room 3 years later, and we got a verdict for $1.7 million.
Well, just shake my hand, because
yeah,
that
well,
sounds
those
like
are
some
few
money.
and far between.
I understand that. I understand
and it
that.
helped a nice widow whose husband was killed. So there's a lot to it. There's so many pieces to it. The public just doesn't understand. Now, they don't always need an attorney. Okay.
In what cases would you not need representation?
Just think about when do you go to a doctor? Okay.
Me?
Well,
I go once a year for my physical.
Okay. Well,
and my female stuff.
Well,
and that's it.
It's lucky
I'm
that you haven't been hurt. But if you had a mosquito bite, or if you fell down and skinned your knee, you wouldn't go to a doctor, right? You put a Band-Aid on it. You'd get something from whatever store and spray. But if you had a serious injury, you feel a lump or something like, you're going to go to a doctor and get their advice.
Professional opinion.
So small cases, you go to the emergency room, get checked out after a car accident, and you're fine. You really don't need a personal injury attorney to help you with that. I really can't add value for you. Just because you hired me and you went to the emergency room one time, the insurance company knows I'm not going to file a lawsuit on something like that. People call me all the time. I tell them, here's what you do. Get your medical records. You're entitled to pain and suffering. Ask them for this amount. Get the best you can. And now I tell them, if you had caught me just out of law school, I might have got you in, okay? But I'm not that desperate. And so it's the more serious injuries where a personal injury attorney can add value. And so the bottom line is, can I get more than that person can get for themselves? Okay, and that's how I try to judge what cases I take.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, and Camera, if you'll focus in on this book, close in if you could, I appreciate it. Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, where you are featured as the lead attorney talking about the insurance industry and what they don't want you to know. One of the things that struck me hard is from reading the different accounts of these illustrious men was it's kind of like you're David and they're Goliath, and how can a person get a good, fair, well, I should say equitable is not necessarily fair. Equitable in the court means balanced. How can a person be assured that they're going to get a fair assessment by the insurance company representing the person that injured them and on their own? How is that possible?
It's almost virtually impossible.
Okay, because I'm saying, really now, Tony?
Yeah, like I said,
really?
in the small case where you went to the emergency room or you went to the doctor once, you're going to get, you know, what they're going to pay you, and I can't do much about that. Okay, so, but in the bigger case where you know someone's out of work for 2-3 months, has had a back surgery, I pretty much have a good idea of, she's got important people calling her.
Oh, no, I'm shutting this thing off. I should have done it before we went on set, but go on.
So, I kind of forgot where I was.
Okay, well,
Michelle,
I'm going to help you out here before that little interruption with that little contraption. We were talking about insurance companies and Goliath and they're big boys, and you were saying that you're not going to get a fair go.
Okay, yeah.
You're not.
By yourself, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I had some people call me, and the statute of limitations on a negligence case in Ohio is 2 years. A lot of people are afraid to call an attorney because they know an attorney's good. They don't know how we charge, number one.
Okay, well,
they
we can
think
talk
there's
about
going
that,
to be
'cause I
big
think
bills and big this,
yeah.
and they're going to get a piece of the action. And the insurance company tells them, okay, in a big case now, you don't need to get an attorney. We're going to give you a fair offer. The attorney's just going to take a piece of the action, so there's going to be more for you because we're going to we're not going to pay you any more if you get an attorney. Wrong, okay, in a serious case, you know, because the point is, Michelle, what power does a person have when the insurance company says to you, unrepresented, well, Michelle, let's see, we've paid some of your medical bills already. We see that you were off work. Here's your lost wages, and here's $2,000 for your pain and suffering, when you really should be entitled to $50,000 for your pain and suffering.
Right.
Okay, and so the public really doesn't know. I know from over 30 years in researching cases, pretty much what cases are worth. Okay, and so
meaning you, from your experience and background, you know what most insurance companies are prepared to offer.
Yes,
yeah,
or should offer. They might not be
okay.
prepared to offer it until you take it from them. Okay, sometimes you just got to go to trial. I can remember trying a case. I mean, the culprits, the usual suspects, Allstate, State Farm. I tried cases. Why was I always trying cases against Allstate, State Farm, Allstate, State Farm, Allstate particularly? Because they were the first ones to go to a computerized analysis of cases. Then the computer would spit out a number. Then they'd cut that down. They'd get a bonus if the adjuster could get less. And I've seen their files because I've subpoenaed their files. So I know what they try to do, and I know that I've been successful with the right case, with the right client, and beating their offers to death. You know?
See, this is what I'm going to just be transparent because I came out of an insurance company, major in their investment division. And I know for a fact that insurance companies, as I tell people, don't be enamored by banks. You need to know the real banks are the insurance companies because they get premium dollars every single day. And they have a ton of attorneys. They have, in the company I work for, one of the floors was nothing but attorneys.
Well, yeah.
Nothing but attorneys. I mean, it had to have been 70 attorneys. And when they get a case, they ferret it out.
Right.
And it's whoever. And I think about the poor little fish who thinks he or she can be out here and get something fair. So if, as I'm understanding you, if it's a small case, they just need to pray to God and hope for the best. Okay?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and try to get something and hope
Right.
that they don't have permanent injuries.
You're right, and take their time. You don't have to settle it up right away because, you know, if something happens, once you sign that release, it's
You're
over
done.
with.
Uh-huh.
But like I said, a one and done emergency room, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Or you wait a week and you go to a doctor
Or
and he checks
chiropractor
you
or
out,
something.
or a chiropractor. That's another topic we can discuss.
I'm going to say, can we
Uh,
talk about that group?
Well, we can segue right into that, but really what I wanted to say, though, to finish that thought about
Yeah.
how can you get a fair thing, if you're on your own, what power do you have? All you can say is, well, are you going to take your case to trial without an attorney? No, you're
No,
not.
no.
And if you've gone through a year and a half without an attorney, and at the back end of the case, there's 2 years on a negligence case in
Okay.
Ohio that you have to file, and now it's like, well, you come to Mr. Attorney because you go, well, the insurance company only offered me this. Well, ma'am, what happened? Well, what'd you tell them? And if you told them the wrong thing, if you put your foot in your mouth, if it's 2 days to file the lawsuit, it's like, you know, you can't let that happen. So it's always good just to call me up to talk to me about a case. I don't charge people. You're not going to get a bill in the mail. Most, if not all, personal injury attorneys will give you a free consultation.
So that's important. Let me segue the camera over to myself. Point number one, viewers, if you've had a problem in terms of injury, Mr. Castelli just told me, and you just heard it, that you can call an attorney first and get a free consult. There's no charge for that piece. That's important so that you don't get out here and wind up getting ravaged. Because trust me, this is America, like I said before, and like I'm going to continue to say, this is not a kind place for suckers, okay? I'm just going to be direct. This is not a kind place for people that don't know. But he's telling you, get advice up front and guidance so that you can get on with your life, okay? Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, let the attorney worry about getting compensation for you, answering your questions, so that you can worry about getting better.
Because that, to me, is the main thing. When you have compromised health and you've been hurt, and many of these hurts are long-lasting.
Oh,
They
yes.
are long-lasting. Ken, on that subject, and I only say this because my mother and my stepfather were hit from the rear severely by a woman that was texting 6 years ago. And bottom line, they had to go to mediation,
Okay.
and they are still suffering. What played out was so bad that I was just appalled. I just had no idea that once it's done, it's done. Whatever you didn't negotiate, whatever you didn't factor in, and they had legal counsel. They had a big boy.
Well, you know, sometimes these big boys have a lot of cases,
Okay.
and you might not be number one on their list.
Okay.
So, you know, that goes into how to hire a
Yeah, I
great
saw
personal
this
injury
one.
attorney.
Yeah,
you
attorney
know?
advertising revealed. I can't wait to read. Let me see. Put the camera on this book. Put the camera on this book. Attorney advertising revealed. Late night stuff.
Yeah, well, it's an
Daytime
easy
stuff.
it's an easy read,
Okay.
but you know, like I said before, a lot of people think they're personal injury attorneys when they've never seen inside of a courtroom to try a case. So if you want to have some credibility, yes, you have to. What's nice with the internet, you can do a little research.
Can you? Incredible?
Sure, you can look for, you know, say you get hit in a car accident, and you just put in Dayton car accident attorney. If you're in Dayton,
And I
look
think-
around, see, you know, what testimonials they have, what their results are. You can get a sense of them. Most people are putting up video.
Okay,
You know,
yes,
you can
that's
get a
good.
sense of, does this guy, is he a nice guy? Is he cocky? Is he arrogant? Is he somebody that I can work with? And, you know, you really got to find someone that is a hell of a trial attorney and someone that really cares still about you no matter what. I mean, I love to talk to my clients And I'm a guy that I'll hug my clients, you know.
I like that.
After I get to know them, not
Yeah,
the first
right,
meeting,
right.
but especially when we settle up, we've had a relationship. Sometimes these cases can last for a long time. You get to know them very well. I've often I had the sweetest little old lady who was in a truck accident, had a bad shoulder problem. Her family couldn't get with her. She didn't want to understand what was going on. I would go and meet her at the doctor's office and sit there with this eminent surgeon and find out what's going on with her, reassure her, and so I knew what was going on.
What was going on.
So, you know, I mean, you have to serve your clients, and someone may have not taken the time to explain to your parents, you know, what we normally can do in this type of case. And when you mention mediation,
Right.
what that is, just so the people know, is normally after a lawsuit's been filed, the parties will agree to mediate the case. And you can hire your own mediator, because these are usually the best, because a lot of courts have their own court-appointed ones that could be anybody. And you sit in a room. The insurance company now has taken some time to focus on the case, to put a dollar value on it, and you go in this room with a third party who's the mediator, who's neutral. There's no testimony taken. It's not really that stressful. Everything's nerve-wracking on the layperson, but it's not like a trial, for goodness sake. And it's kind of like the old Henry Kissinger shuttle diplomacy. He goes in one room, talks to them, gets a sense of what they want to do, comes into you and says, you know, Mr. Castelli, you know, you did have that prior injury 3 years ago. They're thinking that they can show that part of that is some of your problems. They have a doctor that they hired, which they hire the same doctors over and over and over again, who says that this was all just, you know, you were hurt for 6 weeks, and now this is your arthritis that you kicked in. And so they go back and forth, and you, in probably 90% of the cases, can resolve those cases. And it's really good if you can do that, because the next step after that is spending even more money
And time.
and then going to a jury trial. And anything can happen in front of a jury, because the insurance companies have done a very good job of poisoning the well for honest people who just as soon would have never been in this serious accident,
Right.
but are. And that started with the infamous, which you reminded me of because you spilled coffee on yourself,
Yeah.
the McDonald's coffee case. Everybody's heard of the McDonald's coffee
Well, say
case.
it, because it's
Okay.
important.
Well, this is a lady who was in a car, and she had bought coffee at McDonald's, and the coffee spilled, burned her leg very badly.
Ooh, weird.
And she got hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the insurance company started spinning that, because the public was thinking, well, people know that coffee's hot, and she hit it. She had the cup off, she's in her car, you know, that's on her. And so the climate that just started to change, that, well, look at these people, they're trying to get money for hot coffee, when in reality is that McDonald's had been told multiple times that their coffee is so freaking hot that it doesn't need to be that hot, that it can cause you third-degree burns. Now that's just crazy, okay?
So you mean they had been told this before this
absolutely,
occurrence?
absolutely.
I mean, written correspondence, etc.
Yes,
Oh,
they
then
found multiple accidents, and their
okay.
lawyer just wanted medical bills and this, and they poo-poo. We're
Then
lawyering
punitive.
up.
You got to pay.
Really, yeah, punitive is punishment. That's rare. But you know, for the compensation for your pain and suffering, would you like to talk about a little bit about how we calculate damages? I mean, that the public and for your
I'd like to
mother
know
and
that,
father.
because I'd like to know how you do determine that a person has lost X number of dollars.
Well, if you go in front of a jury, they have to answer certain questions.
The jury.
The jury has to answer certain questions about damages. The first thing is, let's talk about everything up to the day of the trial. That's called your past.
Okay.
So you get your past reasonable value of your medical bills. Okay. That's not so much what the whole medical bill is. If the medical bill was $10,000 and your insurance paid $6 and they wrote off $4, okay. In Ohio anyway now, it's what the doctor accepted in full payment. So you go, well, I got $10,000 in bills, and the insurance company says, no, you really got $6. And juries say, well, yeah, you really only had to pay $6. Why should we pay you more? Well, I paid premiums for medical insurance.
Does that not
to
have
have
value?
that.
Okay.
But
no.
that's the way it is. So
Okay.
you get your past medical bills to an extent. You get your past lost wages.
Okay.
And you have to have a doctor that says, hey, she was hurt, he was hurt this long, he couldn't work, and then work has to send documentation of how much you lost. Pain and suffering, we've all heard of that. You know, how much pain have you gone through? Have you had a serious surgery? Have you had a burn injury? And then there's one other thing that people forget about. Loss of enjoyment of life. That is another line item. Okay, I've got money for all these items, not just pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. You might be in pain, but you can still do everything that you did before, okay, and it doesn't affect you. But if your pain is affecting how you can walk, how much you can stand, were you a golfer, you used to like to golf, you used to like to roller skate, you used to like to crochet, and those activities you can't do or have become very painful that you're limited, that's loss of enjoyment of life. We're guaranteed what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Right.
That's what I tell juries. And they took it away. And now she gets to be compensated for that. And if you don't value this pain that this person has been through, then you're valuing their life and you're not giving any value to that life. So that's how I portray it. So we got the past, and then we have the same items in the future. Now that's a little harder to deal with because you have to show that, you know, nobody wants to just give you money for the future that's not going to happen. But the same items, if a doctor testifies, yes, this shoulder is going to deteriorate, they're going to need a total shoulder replacement. I can't tell you if it's going to be 10 years or 12 years, but I can tell you it is going to happen. Then they should be compensated for the future pain and suffering and what we call a permanent injury. So a permanent injury should get more compensation than an injury that heals up. So that's how we evaluate it, and then we look at similar cases that we've had over the years, and I can do research. I just pulled up 250 pages of similar cases for a client who had a neck strain and post-traumatic headaches. And you know, so we can kind of figure this out. And the insurance companies, they think they know with all their stuff, but there's the human element. You know, how has this human being been affected? And the best results come from the people that really try hard to get better, that really don't cry about that really don't show their anger, because a lot of people are angry, and I can understand that.
Yeah, because their lives have been changed.
But just basically say, hey, look, I'd like to get what's fair, and I've been trying really hard, and you know, I'm here to ask for justice. And if they're likable, goes a long way.
So what is your definition of likable?
Someone who has tried hard to get better, someone who's not coming across,
huffy puffy.
Yeah, I tell them to, you know, kill the defense attorney when he's asking you questions with kindness. Be respectful. Don't get defensive. You know, just be open, be honest. Don't exaggerate anything, and things will go good for you. And all the trial attorneys say that. You know, a likable plaintiff. That's when, if you go to court and the attorney meets the plaintiff, or you go into a mediation and the insurance company shows up and meets the plaintiff for the first time, and the plaintiff is the person who's bringing the lawsuit, that's the legal term. They meet you and you say, hello, Mr. Insurance Adjuster. It's so nice to meet you. Okay? And then they get a good feel for you versus, I just went to a seminar, and it was I think we had an insurance adjuster come in to the seminar. And I'm sitting in the back of the room. I'm peppering them with questions. We're in a mediation, right?
Okay.
How can we add value to the case? Don't you just come in with a number, and I want to get your best number? Will you make a phone call? Will you call someone else? And she goes, well, let me tell you, one time we had a very sad case. It was a wrongful death of a child.
Oh, dear.
And
oh,
some
dear.
people would say, well, why would you sue for the death of your child?
Because.
You know? Well, we're not going to throw this child away.
Right.
We're going to make you remember what you did, how you did it. And the family might use that money to do a scholarship fund.
Or a number of things.
Many things.
Yeah.
But in the mediation, the family said, we'd like to give a little opening statement. And most attorneys go, if they haven't heard that coming, what are my clients going to do now? Okay, because we want to be in control and control the stage that we can. What this family did was just take pictures of their son. Here's what he was when he was 1. And by the time they got to when he caught his first fish, the insurance adjuster said the whole room was in tears. They paid a fair price. I mean, if there is a fair price for a death, and the case was resolved. But so, you know,
that's a very appropriate ending.
Yep.
The case was resolved on behalf of the plaintiff in that case.
And they didn't have to go to a jury trial and all the stress and strain but they wanted to show who their son was to the other side.
And the child had meaning. His life
exactly,
had meaning.
and they want to say, you know, hey, I want you to show me my child had meaning. Don't offer me $20,000 for the death of my child.
Right.
I mean, you know, to me, these death cases are worth millions because, I mean, you took a life, not on purpose. I mean, somebody texting, that gets a little dicey. That's almost, we start talking about, that's just as bad as drunk driving. You're not looking at the road.
I definitely think texting is terrible. Terrible.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make a confession. I've got a terribly bad habit of it.
No.
And
No, you don't, Tony.
I know an attorney, yes, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I know an attorney who started an organization who used to text. His daughter was killed by a texting driver. He stopped and he started an organization on behalf of his daughter, and he gives talks, and he has attorneys gives talks all across the country on texting to high school students. And it's not I know we're kind of getting off topic here, but it's not an adversary thing like, I'm an adult, you're a child. It's, let's talk about this. What do you want to do? What could happen? What do you think? Well, I see mom texting, I see mom on the phone. Well, that's your mother. You know, you're an adult now, or you're going to be an adult. How do you want to handle your life? So, yeah, there's a lot of things out there. It's a big bad world, Michelle.
Oh, it's big bad world.
And
I'm serious.
I'm proud to be a trial attorney. I just went to New York. I heard Jerry Spence, a lot of people don't know Jerry, but Jerry's virtually never lost a case. He's old now, and he's beloved by all the trial attorneys. And he just says, you know, that the trial attorney, whether it's the criminal or the civil, stands between the state, stands between big government, stands between big insurance and you. And so I think we do a great job for people. But there's sharks out there too, okay? We all, you know, don't mind our P's and Q's, and it's sad. So you have to be careful. You have to do your homework. And like I said,
what are you looking at? I don't want to, I just want to kind of talk about that. When you say do your homework, that's predicated upon people understanding how this works, which is why I wanted you on. What does an attorney such as yourself charge? How do you get paid?
Okay, that's a great question. We get paid on a contingency fee. Unlike if you've been divorced, and you know you've gotten halfway through your divorce sometimes, and you've spent hourly rates at $300, $400, $500, and you're $10,000 into the divorce, you're out of money, and the lawyer says, "See ya."
Yeah.
Okay. Personal injury attorneys charge on what's called a contingency fee basis. That means our fee is contingent upon recovering money for you, okay?
Okay.
So if I get the insurance company to pay you $100,000 for your medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, everything, my fee, most attorneys are going to charge generally 1/3, okay? Now, that's how we charge. If we don't get you anything, then you don't owe us anything.
Right.
Now, in addition to that, though, there are expenses of litigation. Most of the attorneys that have been around will advance those costs.
On your own.
It costs money to get the medical records.
Right.
Doctor's report might be $500. It's necessary. My client hasn't worked for 3 months. They can't afford to get anything. We advance that cost, then they pay that back. So it's attorney's fees plus cost. If I advance something and I don't get you anything, I don't have to come after you, and I don't come after you, okay?
Is that per contract, meaning
That's
they sign?
and it has to be in a written contract by
Okay.
law in the state of Ohio and for virtually all the states. My contract is pretty simple. It's one page, and that's what it says. So at the end of the day, if I get you $100,000 and I take 1/3, that's $33,333.33. That's about the one thing I learned in law school, how to divide by 3, okay? And then, okay, if we spent $5,000 to take doctors' depositions, file the lawsuit, then you're going to pay me back that money I spent, and then the rest is mostly going to go to you, but guess who else has their hand out?
Internal Revenue?
No,
Who?
thank goodness, no.
I was going to say.
If your medical insurance was used, okay, which if you don't have medical insurance, you're not going to get much treatment. In all their contracts, it says, we want to be paid back. We got our hand out.
Oh,
so at the
my
back end of the
word.
yes, people
Oh,
don't
my
people don't
God.
understand that.
You got to pay, you got to reimburse
Yes. Yes.
the medical?
If they have the right language
Oh,
in the
my
policy.
words.
And so even though I've now got this case settled, my client wants to know, what am I going to go home with, Tony? What am I?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I told you early on, and they don't remember, but there's a lot of people besides me at the end going to have their hand out. Your own medical insurance company. So I write
So if
letters.
they paid out $30,000.
I try to get them to take 20. Okay, I say you didn't do anything. Your language to recover is bad. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. And I just sat in a group meeting with guys.
I'm amazed.
Went through how to figure out what can we do now, because it's just everything changes. So you got to move with the flow.
With the flow.
And what can we do now to get this cut down?
Yeah.
Because this medical insurance company did nothing. The client and I did everything, and here's their money that you want back. Well, let's
paying out on their
medical
injury,
bills.
medical
Yes,
bills.
yes. Now,
which is why you have insurance to begin with.
Right, right, exactly.
And they feel that they are entitled to compensation.
And they put it in the contract, and the courts have upheld it over and over and over again.
Oh, my God. You know what? There is something about insurance that I'm starting not to like on so many levels. I mean, I know we need insurance.
Right.
It's risk management for
Sure.
us. But it's the guys behind the front. You know, it's like here's the screensaver. And then behind the screensaver is the little green monster.
And it's going to get worse, Michelle, because I can tell you what, in Cincinnati, there's only 2 doctor groups, I don't know about Dayton, Columbus, that are not owned by hospitals, these big hospital conglomerates.
Right.
And guess what's going to happen next? The hospitals are going to create their own insurance companies. Okay?
I absolutely believe that.
You know,
I absolutely.
They're going to tell you what they can pay for, what you can do.
Right.
They're going to tell their doctors what you can do for Mr. Castelli. In Columbus, I hear they're telling their doctors, we don't want you to testify for the plaintiff.
What?
That's what I hear.
You know what? This is a sidebar, but this is important because I've been watching all of this burst of building activity prior to the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare. And I knew the hedge funds were dumping in billions of dollars throughout the United States to have these buildings built in anticipation of all these sick people.
Right.
And then I noticed they started buying doctor practices. And the doctors became employees. And I was like, now how is this going to work out? Because this guy's used to running his own ship or her own ship, and now you march to a conglomerate that is profit-driven. Because they got to pay that building debt off. Hedge funds do not make that kind of investment without expecting some kind of a return on their dollars.
Well, the doctors have just threw out their hands, and the insurance companies, you know what they would like you to believe?
What?
It's because the plaintiff's attorneys have driven up verdicts and malpractice premiums, and that is not the truth, okay?
Jeez.
So we know that, all right? It's all about follow the money.
Oh,
okay?
I'm following the daggone rabbit with the money.
The hospitals want to make all the money, and, you know.
This is I don't mean us to get off point here, but I am so glad to hear you being transparent about this situation, because I do believe that the quality of health care is going in the toilet. It's got to. It's got to go in the toilet. They put all this money in brick and mortar and creating an environment where doctors who are leaving the industry, like, I'm out of here. I'm going to Europe. I'm going to Asia. I'm going anywhere, but I'm not doing it here. They've created an environment where the poor person that does get injured and seriously injured, they don't have much recourse.
They got a battle.
Oh my God.
You got a battle on your hands, and you know we have our own plaintiffs' attorneys that have been around. There's resources that we can use to help, and doctors that we know that, you know, we don't have doctors in our pockets, believe me, but we know the good doctors that'll help out, that'll go to bat for their client, not only medically, but I'll write a report for you. Don't worry, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
Some guys don't care, and but some men and women. Actually, one woman was one of my very best doctors. She did a better job than anybody when it came to testifying for this little client of mine. So, you know, it's not just men. I hate to be like saying men, but I'm sitting here with. You know, I could learn a lot from this lady.
Oh, no,
okay?
no.
I
I'm
wish I
always
would have
open
found
to
her.
listening. I'm always open to listening, because this is such a paradigm shift with this healthcare issue. And people don't understand why they are busily building all these buildings and everywhere, and the value of raw land is going through the ceiling. And I'm looking at hedge funds and knowing full well that they are the rat in the cage.
Right,
They're coming after money, and the poor, everyday Joe Blow who happens to be in a situation where they are injured and severely, and the quality of care, the after-the-fact quality of care that person can anticipate until they receive some kind of settlement, and then you got to pay the insurance company. I'm
Something
like,
else.
you know what? It's kind of like Marvin Gaye's song, Makes Me Want to Holler.
Yeah.
I mean, really, makes me want to holler. Just what in the world? How long is the case going to take? If I come to you and I say, like today, I got hit by a truck.
Okay, that's another great question. And I tell clients it's going to take as long as it takes for you either to get better, which we hope you will, or for the doctor to be able to say, look, Michelle has reached maximum medical improvement. She was up here before this car accident. Car accident brought her down here. We brought her up here, but she's always going to have this pain if she lifts too much. She's going to have a slight limp. She's not going to be able to walk as long as she did. I'm going to have to see her every 6 months. So we need to know what the future's going to be.
Okay.
Now, you have to file a lawsuit for a negligence claim generally in 2 years. Sometimes I have clients that have such a severe, horrendous injury that they're still treating. I can't get a total handle on that to make a demand to the insurance company. You'd like to put a demand out there before 2 years, but some cases can be done as soon as you're better, and if your doctor releases you from care in 6 months, let's say from the accident.
Okay.
I tell my clients, let's wait, go out there, jump up and down, do jumping jacks, do everything you want to do, make sure you're okay. If you got any pain at all, I want you to go back to the doctor and see what he says. Okay. So maybe that's if the doctor released you from care 6 months, client says, yeah, I jumped up and down and did everything, I'm still good. Well, then we'll try to get that case resolved. We'll have gotten some records, and we'll get everything that we haven't gotten. Write up a great demand letter, send it to the client, let them review it, go over what we think we're going to try to get our heads together, submit it to the insurance company with everything documented, and get the case settled. So the case can, every case is different, okay? And it depends on how soon you get better, because we need to know, in order to get you a fair settlement, that doctor has to tell me not what's possible. The public thinks, well, you know, I'm going to probably get arthritis down the road and as I get older. And well, if your doctor doesn't say that based upon what's more likely than not, nobody's paying us for possibilities. The law doesn't pay you for possibilities. It's got to be reasonably certain, or more likely than not the future's going to hold this for you. And then we ask the doctor to write up a report, and the doctor that writes up a great report, I tell clients, a great doctor is better than a good lawyer, because he's gonna make evidence. I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna spin it, and I'm gonna explain it. But if I don't have a doctor that says she's got these issues here, or these issues are related to this car accident, and that's why you have to tell your doctor. You have to be a squeaky wheel so they listen, because the doctors, they want to get you better. They're not, you know, doing your lawsuit for you, but so you have to make sure that that's come across to them. Hey, doc, you know, 6 months ago I'm still here. You know, they look at your chart real quick. They come in, you hear them outside. They go, "Who's this?" They look at it. "Doc, I'm here again for that car accident. I just can't get better." And 60–70% of these docs get it. The other ones, you know, they're busy, they're hustling, they're you know, they're just trying to get you better. They're not focusing on this car accident case. Some doctors don't even deal with them. Oh, I don't want to deal with insurance. I don't want to mess with that. Oh my goodness. You know,
my gosh.
And, well, tell me up front, because we'll get you to somebody else, because we need you, doc, to write this letter so we know what the heck's going to happen. So, you know,
the doctor sounds like he or she is critical to the case.
Absolutely critical. And then, so just to, if we have to say we've waited 1.5 years to figure it out, how your treatment has gone, got all the records, submitted a demand to the insurance company, and they throw us a lowball offer, then we file a lawsuit, you're probably going to be another year until the case gets resolved. So some cases can go on as close to 3 years. Other cases can get resolved in 6 months. It just depends on the injury.
Question: soft tissue injuries.
Okay.
Tell our viewers about that, because that's a biggie too, a soft tissue versus a break.
You know, soft tissue is disc injuries, skin injuries, Willie whiplash. Okay, let's just throw the elephant in the room out there.
Throw them out.
We want to call them a flexion extension injury, when your neck is thrown backwards if you're rear-ended. Okay, so people don't really get that piece, because you go back by
You go
physics.
back first.
Yes, you do, and then you come forward, and this is all stretched out. You can have ligament tears, herniated discs. That's all soft tissue. If a disc comes out of it, that's obviously more and more serious. If they just call it a strain or sprain, those cases are very hard, and people are still in a lot of pain, and some never recover. We see that there's bleeding, there's scar tissue, but those cases are very hard to get full value, and those are the clients that don't understand, why can't you get me more money for this? And even in front of a jury, it's very difficult, because there's nothing that we can really see, and they call it a strain, and the defense attorney has his doctor say, well, this client should have been better in 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I think. And the x-rays are normal, the MRI is normal, but we know from doing this that there's something that has happened structurally that the doctors just don't pick up. But if you can't see it, and it's just all about what you tell me. So, doctor, your opinion that this is permanent is based upon what the person told you. So it's not really a medical opinion. It's just goes back to your credibility. The jury can't see it. You look fine. You look nice to me. But you don't see me at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, you don't see me when I can't pick up my grandchild.
Right.
So, but they're very tough, and you can't get the value that you can for you know, a severe broken bone where there's a rod in somebody's arm, something like that.
Yes,
You know,
that's
something
crisp.
objective.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so,
So how, give me, because we're wrapping up.
oh my
I
goodness.
know I told you, it goes like a train. Um, what is the best suggestion that you can make right now? And if a person in my viewing audience has experienced a personal injury, what are the tips that you can give me quickly on how to get the highest dollar value?
okay, the first thing you do is,
And oh, before we go, I need to make sure they have your phone number.
oh, it is.
Before we talk any further. Let's get this.
Well, I'll give you two numbers.
Okay.
My 800 numbers, 1-800-772-1213.
Okay.
So if you're in Dayton, Columbus.
Say that again.
If you're in Dayton or Columbus or Cincinnati, 1-800-772-1213.
Okay.
Locally in Cincinnati, it's area code 513-621-2345. And if you really want to check me out and research me good,
Yes. Oh, yeah. Do their
go to
research.
Castelli Law, CASTELLIIW.com. You can find everything about me.
I did.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
can
oh
find
my
out.
God, I've got a celebrity on my show.
well.
My God, this is important. This is important.
So
okay.
do you want the tips?
Yeah, I want the tips.
Tip number one, if you're in a car wreck and they call the life squad and you're hurting, let the life squad take you to the hospital. Number one, don't wave them off. Okay, a lot of people, you know, they don't want to go. They you know,
it feels weird.
Yeah, it does. And then you go home, and then 3 hours later, you go, my God, this hurts so bad. Then you go to the emergency room. Okay, so so again, it's better to get immediate treatment.
Okay.
And then just don't sit there. Make an appointment to follow up with your family doctor.
Okay.
And you're going to get a lot of calls, and you're going to get letters in the mail from attorneys. It's sad to say. You're going to get calls from chiropractors. Me, personally, I go to a chiropractor for my back, but if I was in a car accident, I'd go to an orthopedic specialist because they've got the most weight. So you get to the specialist for your type of injury, and then look around and do some research and call up an attorney and personal injury attorney, find out their rights, see what testimonials they have, see what their results were. They'll talk to you. Now, not everyone will, because you got to push button A and talk to this paralegal. If you can get that attorney on the line, don't think he's just not busy, but just think he wants to give you personal attention.
Right.
Because a lot of people will send runners out. You know, oh, I'll get your contact. I'll be coming out to your house. Well, they haven't even met their attorney. So be careful. But those are the tips. Get good medical care. Get the advice of an attorney. That doesn't mean you have to hire them right away, okay? And don't let the insurance companies record your statement. Your own insurance company is entitled to by contract if they want to. But the other insurance company, for the person who caused your accident, you can tell them over the phone, here's where my car is, you know, get it checked out, get your rental car. But in terms of, you might say something, you're feeling bad, you're under the influence of medication, you might say something like they ask you the speed limit and, you know, you say something crazy and now you just put your foot in your mouth. Or you skipped some of your injuries. And that's another thing. If you've had a pre-existing injury, it's nothing to hide. You want to tell your doctor about that. You know, the people that are hiding stuff, once they get one little lie,
It's over.
or one little thing that you forgot, honestly, that they now turn into, oh, she didn't tell us about that. They won't say you're lying, but they'll assume
Yeah, but
lying.
everybody knows you're lying.
Yeah, so you got to be careful about that. And those are the big things. And then follow up with your doctor. I just got off the phone with a client. Oh, I'm so busy, Tony, and this, and I got to work. And I said, well, no doctor, no injury. You know, if you're hurt and you're hurting, you have to follow up with your doctor. Gaps in treatment, if you don't go for 6 months and now you got all these problems, they think you fell in your backyard. They're going to say, well, you were better. So those are the big tips I can give you, Michelle.
Well, listen, in the remaining time we have, didn't I tell you he was amazing? This guy is smart. I like smart men, okay? I really do. It's an alpha male. I like that too. Tony Castelli, personal injury attorney, one of the top in the United States, 30 years practitioner. And I've been delighted to learn about this field. Yes, they work for their money. So stop being crazy about what they're making. They work for their money. This is the truth. We all, those of us that are serious professionals, we work for our money. And you should be glad. And these are the kinds of people you want to be involved in if your situation merits. By all means, feel comfortable doing your own research. As always, I've introduced you to one of the people I feel is the best. Thank you for being a part of my world for this show. And as always, I wish you peace, love, and God bless you.